good times with your family, celebrations, laughter, warmth, only to find those memories drowned out by pain and chaos? Well, I have. And those stolen moments, the ones we missed while hustling, grinding, working too much, they stay with us. We scurry through life without prioritizing what really matters. And then, years later, like I'm thinking now, we try to make it up. We over-identify with family. We create pseudo relationships with our kids, trying to fill the blanks. We chase connections, but are we healing? Are we just patching things up? So let's talk about it today. How do we really move from lost time, regret, and misplaced priorities? This space is for reflection, truth, and healing. Today, I'm going to tell you that I have really been thinking this through. And I tried to come up with a joyful moment with my daughter. Let me just say that. I was thinking about my daughter as she was little. I remember spaces of time when I was home and she was a baby. And I remember having good times with her at that time. I remember up to a certain age, and then it kind of gets muddled because I was working. I was a working mom who had to work in order for them to survive. And my total thought was help them to survive and not get the lights cut off, let them have a place to live and be joyful with them. But at the same time, I wasn't able to balance it, because I was doing the best I could at the moment. And I thought doing the best I could at the moment was to literally give to them, by working overtime and providing those things that I didn't have, and like lights on, roofs over our head, places to go, fun times, and all of this stuff. And sometimes when we do that, we lose time. And the impact of that for me, just recently realizing this, the impact for me was an emotional milestone, because I realized that I had missed a big chunk of my children's lives because I was working. And I was surviving instead of living. Missed birthdays, unspoken words. I had missed a lot of that. And what it did for my children and I was it created this emotional distance. Even for close families, we're close because they're all I had and I'm all they had. But I missed a lot of the emotional connection with them. Yes, they're my children. I love them. I will stand up for them. I will support them. I will be strong for them. All of that great stuff. But I missed that emotional connection. Hello, Ann Slay. Thank you for stopping by. So all that, the impact of lost time kind of gave me that emotional distance. And I just realized that the other day, right? I want you to think about this. This is a reflection moment. Think about a time you wish you had slowed down and been present. Thank you. Thank you so much. And think about how you slowed down. If you slowed down and you've been present, what do you feel you remember? I know that a lot of times I wish that I had slowed down, and I wish that I had slowed down a lot and remembered a lot of things, but now I'm like kind of trying to force myself to remember. Hey, Samuel, nice. Thank you for dropping by. So So I just wanted you to know that. Here's another point that happens when you have these lost moments, right? You start to hyper relate, and you create these pseudo relationships. Now, what do I mean by that? The guilt of missed time can make us overcompensate in our relationships with our family members, our family and friends, whatever. I can truly look back at me raising my children. My youngest son, I was very lenient, as opposed to my oldest son and my middle daughter. I was not, right? I'm very emotional about all of them, because I feel guilty of not giving them that time. And then there's times where I try to force closeness. And what I mean by that, I'm overcompensating, over in their business, overindulging. And I used to do that. I don't do it now, but I used to do that with our children, And then with our children, we often create a pseudo relationship where we live our lives vicariously through them instead of making our own. I want to say our own history, our own lives, we start to live our lives through them. One thing I didn't do with my children is I didn't force them to do a lot of things. I asked them, what do you think you want to do? And then I gave them some guidance on, if they didn't want to do something, I gave them guidance on how to proceed, right? So I didn't do that because I wanted them to have choice, something that I didn't have. And later on, as they became teenagers, I started overgiving. I started to trauma bond with them, or I started to parent out of guilt instead of grounded love. And I didn't realize that until way later, as they're in their 20s, and I didn't realize that even till now, realizing that how much I missed my daughter, and she's my only daughter, and how she had moved out, and I missed her because she moved out at 19, and we never had a relationship, and that's why I value our time together now. But we make these pseudo relationships with our children where we may have wanted to be a gymnast, and so we force our children to be gymnasts. We may have wanted our kids to be, do different things, and so they may not be doing what we want them to do, but we're always constantly saying, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should be doing this, and we force them, we guilt trip them into maybe a regular life or a life that we think they should have. And we point them in that direction of, this is what you should be doing. This is the career you should be focused on. And we start to live our lives in a pseudo relationship. And I've seen this, and I've even experienced myself, pseudo husbands with our sons, and pseudo best friends with our daughters. And then when they break our hearts, then we're mad at them, right? And we do not, we overgive, or we overcompensate, or we don't discuss things with them. We don't have real, true conversations with them about what life really is, and we allow things that we shouldn't allow. But that's what happens when we scurry through life and we live in survival mode instead of living real life. Have you ever caught yourself doing too much to make up for what you didn't do before? Just think about that. And if you have, comment yes. Comment yes in the comment section. I know I have. I have. I can truly say I have. So how do we start to heal? Presence versus perfection. Here's the thing. Presence versus perfection. And I can look back that I was trying to make life perfect for my children when actually there was no perfect life. I was doing the best I could, but I was operating out of my pain instead of my presence. And so I needed to be more present with my children versus perfecting things that I didn't have. Now what I'm doing is acknowledging the past, and I acknowledge what I didn't do, but I also forgive myself for not doing it, and I ask forgiveness of my children that I didn't do. But I start to rebuild with small intentional moments. So my daughter and I have this thing that we kind of, she'll take me grocery shopping, even though she doesn't have to. She'll take me grocery shopping, and we talk about everything on the shop, and we just have a great time together, and we go from there. So we start to rebuild on something small and intentional. I prioritize quality presence over grand gestures now. So being with my daughter, just being with her, that's a quality presence. And instead of having those grand gestures, like, maybe giving her something. And that's another thing is, know what the other person's love language is. That's a big one. And I know my daughter is a gifter. She's a gifter, but she loves to receive services. She loves that. So I know that from her. So I'm always, being in her presence and being like totally locked in when we are, together. And then having those honest conversations, even when they're messy. Having those honest conversations, sharing the truths with your children. I started with I started teaching my children at 6, but being just honest with them at 9 and all the way up. Even with my grandchildren, I do the same thing, I try to keep that honest part within our relationship. So how do we kind of get this started? I know for me, literally coming into the acknowledgement of this, I had to journal, and then I realized it. So journaling 5 minutes daily on reflections, as soon as I start thinking of something, I journal it. And then I think this is like, me coming on YouTube is like a journaling. So I come on and I talk about it, of what I'm going through. And then writing letters, either to your past self or to your children. Even if you don't give it to them, just writing a letter, and maybe it'll give you strength like it's given me in the past to kind of say, hey, this is what I felt. And I've written letters to my children when I come to the acknowledgement of this is what I've done wrong, and I forgive myself, and I'm asking you to forgive me because I didn't have the wherewithal to help you. I was doing the best I could at that moment. And then making these micro memories, spontaneously dance in the kitchen. I do that often. Have eye contact with your children when they come over, or your friends, or whoever it is that you're, and it's mostly family. I'm going to tell you that. It's mostly family. Saying I'm proud of you. Every moment that I can, when I catch them doing something that I could be proud of, I say, I'm proud of you. That's it. I don't say anything more than that. Keep it simple. All right? So I hope I said something today that really helped you kind of get a full picture of, the impact of lost time and slowing down a little bit. Hey, we got to slow down and really start to heal. We can't just, oh yeah, I did that, and just like keep walking over the same mat, the same rug that's got lumps and bumps over it, and we're just going to walk over it. And it's this that's what creates the disconnection. When you don't acknowledge, when you don't try to fix, when you don't try to take responsibility, it creates this big drift. And you think you're close and you're not close. You're just pretending. So I'm also giving you a free ebook. If you're interested in any book, please comment in the sections below with the word free ebook, and I'll send you a free ebook in your DM or by your Gmail, whichever you want. It's an invitation to heal. It's about creating the healing process, and I can send that to you and help you walk through the process of self-awareness, healing from regret, and getting into the present day impact. I hope that I said something great today, and I will see you the next time around. If I touched your heart, share this live or tag someone who might need it. And you remember, you can't go back and make a brand new start, but you can start now and make a brand new ending. See you next time around.